long before Seoul awakened to another ordinary Monday. The 48th floor of Mir Technologies headquarters was already glowing above the city skyline. Inside the Finance Intelligence Division, Han Yoon-seo was the last employee still working. For 8 years, she had earned a reputation no auditor could match. She never guessed. She never assumed. She followed numbers. And numbers. Never lied. Tonight, one transaction refused to make sense. An enormous transfer had vanished from the company's international accounts without leaving a digital trail. Not one mistake. Not two. Dozens. Someone had erased an entire financial history with surgical precision. The deeper she investigated, the clearer one terrifying truth became. This wasn't cybercrime. It was an inside job. Yoon-seo leaned back from her monitor and looked out across the glittering Seoul skyline. She had planned to go home hours ago. Instead, she had just uncovered something powerful enough to destroy one of Korea's largest corporations. She didn't know it yet. But someone already knew she had found it. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor just as the first light of morning washed over Seoul. Han Yoon-seo walked with quiet confidence toward the chairwoman's office. The encrypted drive rested safely inside her handbag. Every step brought her closer to exposing the largest financial crime in Mir Technologies' history. She never noticed the eyes following her through the building's security cameras. Before reaching the executive corridor, her phone vibrated. It was her husband, Cha Do-hyun. He sounded warm. Calm. He reminded her of the dinner they had planned that evening and wished her luck with the audit presentation. His voice comforted her. After all, he was the one person she believed she could trust without question. Yoon-seo smiled faintly before ending the call. She had no idea that the man encouraging her was already 3 moves ahead. Moments later, the company's emergency alarm echoed through the headquarters. Employees poured into the hallways in confusion. Security officers rushed toward the Finance Intelligence Division. Within minutes, the building's internal network shut down completely. Every computer screen turned black. The words, "Security breach detected," flashed across the monitors. Yoon-seo's heart began to race. She hurried back to her office. When she arrived, the room was sealed with security tape. Digital forensic investigators were already photographing her workstation. Her encrypted files had vanished. The servers had been wiped clean. Then came the announcement that changed everything. Nearly 800 billion had disappeared overnight. And according to the system logs, the final authorized access had been made using only one employee's credentials. Han Yoon-seo. The hallway fell silent. Dozens of colleagues slowly turned toward her. The admiration she had earned over 8 years disappeared in a single moment. Not because they had seen her steal, but because the evidence had been carefully arranged to make them believe she had. The executive floor fell into complete silence. Every conversation stopped. Every pair of eyes followed Han Yoon-seo as 2 financial crime detectives approached her. Neither of them spoke immediately. One simply presented the warrant. The other asked her to surrender her company access card and mobile phone. Yoon-seo stood motionless. She wasn't afraid. She was confused. Only a few hours earlier, she had been preparing to expose a crime. Now, she was being accused of committing it. The detectives escorted her through the headquarters. Employees who once greeted her with respect quietly stepped aside. Some lowered their heads. Others secretly recorded the moment on their phones. By noon, news of the arrest had spread across every major media outlet in South Korea. Senior forensic accountant suspected in 800 billion corporate fraud. The headlines appeared on television screens inside cafes, subway stations, and office buildings across Seoul. Yoon-seo's reputation collapsed before she had the chance to defend herself. Hours later, she sat inside a quiet interrogation room at the Seoul Financial Crimes Investigation Bureau. The investigators placed stacks of documents before her. Every forged approval, every falsified digital signature, every overseas transfer, every trail ended with her identity. Even the encrypted drive she had created the previous night had vanished without a trace. Then, the interrogation room door opened. Cha Do-hyun walked inside. Yoon-seo looked up in relief. For a brief moment, she believed everything would finally make sense. Her husband had access to the executive systems. He knew her work. He would tell the investigators she had discovered the fraud, not committed it. Instead, he calmly handed over a folder. Inside were copies of emails, financial authorizations, and internal reports. Each one appeared to prove that Yoon-seo had been secretly controlling the missing accounts for years. She stared at him in disbelief. The man she had trusted more than anyone never looked into her eyes. He signed his witness statement, turned around, and quietly walked out of the room. The door closed behind him. That sound echoed louder than any accusation. In that single moment, Yoon-seo lost far more than her freedom. She lost the only person she had ever believed would never betray her. 5 years passed. Seoul had changed. New skyscrapers rose above the Han River. Mir Technologies had grown into one of Asia's most influential technology companies. On the surface, it looked more successful than ever. Behind the polished image, cracks had begun to spread. The company's stock price had quietly fallen for 6 consecutive quarters. International regulators had launched confidential inquiries. Several overseas investors had withdrawn without explanation. The empire built on deception was beginning to collapse under its own weight. On a cool autumn morning, a black luxury sedan stopped outside Incheon International Airport. A woman stepped out. She wore a tailored ivory coat over a charcoal business suit. Her long black hair was now cut into a sleek shoulder-length style. Minimal makeup, dark sunglasses, quiet confidence. No one recognized her. Not the reporters. Not the executives waiting for arriving consultants. Not even the security officers who checked her identification. Her passport carried a different name. Yoon-ra. An internationally respected corporate restructuring specialist who had spent years advising failing multinational companies across Europe and Singapore. Only one person knew the truth. Beneath the new name, the new appearance, and the calm smile, she was still Han Yoon-seo. The woman everyone believed had disappeared forever. She wasn't returning to reclaim her old life. She was returning because, during 5 years of silence, she had uncovered something far more dangerous than financial fraud. She had discovered who truly controlled Mir Technologies. And this time, she had come prepared. The executive boardroom on the 50th floor overlooked the entire Seoul skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows reflected the city's endless stream of traffic below. Inside, silence settled over the polished walnut conference table. A presentation screen illuminated the room. The words appeared one after another. Special Corporate Recovery Consultant. Yoon-ra. The doors opened. Na-ra entered with measured confidence. Her posture was composed. Her expression revealed nothing. She greeted the board with a respectful bow before taking her seat at the far end of the table. No one questioned her credentials. Her international reputation spoke louder than introductions. She had rescued multinational corporations from bankruptcy. She had exposed complex financial conspiracies across Europe. She had become one of the most respected restructuring experts in the industry. As the meeting began, Na-ra quietly observed every face around the table. Some executives appeared nervous. Others avoided eye contact. Several exchanged subtle glances whenever financial reports appeared on the screen. Then, her eyes stopped on Cha Do-hyun. 5 years had changed him. The confident smile he once carried had disappeared. Dark circles rested beneath his eyes. His tailored suit could no longer hide the weight of constant pressure. For a brief second, their eyes met. Do-hyun frowned. There was something strangely familiar about the woman sitting across from him. Not her face. Not her hairstyle. Something deeper. The way she studied every detail before speaking. The calm confidence in her eyes. A memory stirred. Then vanished before he could grasp it. Na-ra lowered her gaze to the financial report. Within minutes, she found the same hidden transaction pattern she had discovered 5 years earlier. Different account numbers. Different shell companies. The same method. The fraud had never ended. It had simply continued. Without her, night settled over Seoul. The lights inside Mir Technologies gradually faded as employees left the building. Only a handful of executive offices remained illuminated. From the outside, it looked like another ordinary workday had ended. Inside, a dangerous game had just begun. Na-ra stayed behind. She walked slowly through the silent executive floor, studying every hallway, every security camera, and every restricted access door. 5 years had erased many memories. But not this building. She still knew its hidden corners better than most executives. Using a temporary consultant's access card, she entered the corporate archive room. Rows of neatly organized legal files stretched from floor to ceiling. She wasn't looking for paper documents. She was looking for something everyone else had overlooked. At the end of the archive stood an old backup server that had escaped the company's recent technology upgrades. Most people believed it no longer worked. Na-ra smiled faintly. Old systems rarely forgot what new systems tried to erase. She connected a small encrypted drive to the server. Within seconds, fragments of deleted financial records began appearing on her screen. Not complete files. Just scattered pieces. But together, they formed a pattern. Hidden among thousands of routine transactions was a confidential payment, made exactly 1 week before her arrest. The recipient wasn't a shell company. It was a private account belonging to someone inside Mir Technologies. Na-ra enlarged the record. Her breathing slowed. The account holder's name wasn't Cha Do-hyun. It belonged to attorney Seo Min-ah. The same woman who had defended her 5 years earlier. The same friend who had promised never to abandon her. At that moment, the archive room lights suddenly went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the glow of her laptop remained. Then, footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Slow. Measured. Getting closer. Someone knew she had found the missing piece. The archive door opened slowly. The narrow beam from the corridor stretched across the dark floor. Na-ra remained perfectly still. Her fingers tightened around the encrypted drive hidden inside her coat pocket. A tall figure stepped into the room. The emergency lights flickered, revealing only the outline of a man. He closed the door behind him. For several long seconds, neither of them spoke. Then the man stepped into the faint blue glow of the laptop screen. Na-ra's breathing stopped. It was Lee Jun-ho. 5 years earlier, he had been Mir Technologies' chief information security officer. The very man investigators claimed had died in a highway accident 2 days after Yoon-seo's arrest. His funeral had been attended by senior executives. His death certificate had been registered. His name had disappeared from every company record. Yet, he was standing only a few feet away. Time had changed him. The confident executive had become a man constantly looking over his shoulder. A faint scar crossed his left temple. His once expensive business suits had been replaced by a simple dark jacket and jeans. He looked exhausted, but alive. Yoon-ho slowly removed a worn envelope from inside his jacket. Without a word, he placed it on the dusty archive table. Inside were dozens of printed photographs, surveillance stills, financial records, copies of confidential emails. One photograph immediately caught Na-ra's attention. It showed Cha Do-hyun entering a private meeting room 5 years earlier. The timestamp was the exact hour Yoon-seo had been arrested. But he wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was Chairwoman Park's younger brother, Park Jae-sung, the man who had quietly become acting chairman after the scandal. Na-ra finally understood. Her husband had never been the architect. He had only been a pawn. The real mastermind had been sitting at the top of the company all along. The archive room fell into an uneasy silence. Na-ra slowly pulled the document closer. Across the top, the words Project Phoenix were stamped in bold crimson ink. Beneath them, a list of names. Each name had been assigned a role. Han Yoon-seo, scapegoat. Her heart sank. She continued reading. Cha Do-hyun, internal facilitator. He had never been the mastermind. He had been recruited, promoted, rewarded for his loyalty. Then, her eyes reached the final name. Seo-min-ah, legal coordinator. The words blurred before her eyes. Seo-min-ah, her childhood friend. The woman who had studied law with her. The one who had promised through tears that she would clear her name. Instead, she had helped build the case that destroyed her life. Yoon-ho quietly placed a small digital recorder beside the document. I've protected this for 5 years. Na-ra pressed the play button. A recording filled the silent archive. It was from a private meeting held the night before her arrest. Several voices discussed the fraud. One voice ordered the digital evidence to be erased. Another insisted that Han Yoon-seo would never suspect the people closest to her. Then, a third voice spoke. Calm. Confident. Without hesitation. It was Seo-min-ah. She explained exactly how the fabricated evidence would withstand every forensic investigation. Na-ra closed her eyes. Not because she was surprised, but because hearing the betrayal with her own ears hurt more than remembering it. When the recording ended, Yoon-ho revealed one final truth. Project Phoenix had never been created simply to steal money. The fraud had financed a secret acquisition of smaller technology companies. The stolen billions had been used to build a hidden corporate empire, controlled entirely by Park Jae-sung. Mere Technologies had only been the beginning. The conspiracy had spread far beyond Seoul, far beyond Korea. And unless they stopped it tonight, the remaining evidence would disappear forever. The message changed everything. They know everything. Yoon-ho immediately destroyed the phone's SIM card. There was no more time to hide. No more time to investigate. Everything they needed to expose Project Phoenix was already in their possession. Before sunrise, Na-ra and Yoon-ho arrived at Mir Technologies headquarters. The emergency board meeting had already begun. Park Jae-sung stood confidently at the head of the conference table. Around him sat the executives who had spent years protecting his empire. Cha Do-hyun was among them. His face was pale. For the first time in years, he looked like a man haunted by every decision he had made. The boardroom doors opened. Every conversation stopped. Yoon-seo walked inside. Without asking for permission, she connected her encrypted drive to the presentation system. The lights dimmed. One by one. The screens displayed everything. The hidden bank accounts. The shell companies. The forged signatures. The surveillance footage. The secret recordings. And finally, Project Phoenix. The room descended into silence. No one spoke. No one denied the evidence. Then Yoon-seo stepped forward. Alive. The executives stared at him in disbelief. Several board members lowered their heads. Others reached for their phones. It was too late. Outside the building, financial crime investigators, prosecutors, and police officers entered the headquarters with signed arrest warrants. Within minutes, Park Jae-sung, Seo Min-ah, and the executives behind Project Phoenix were taken into custody. Cha Do-hyun remained seated. He didn't resist. He simply looked at Na-ra. For the first time, he understood what his ambition had cost him. Na-ra looked back at the man she had once loved. There was no hatred left. Only acceptance. Justice had already spoken. Weeks later, South Korea's largest corporate fraud case came to an end. Han Yoon-seo's conviction was officially overturned. Her name was cleared. Every public record was corrected. The woman the nation had once called a criminal was finally recognized as the person who had uncovered the conspiracy that saved billions of won and protected thousands of employees. Mir Technologies began a new chapter under honest leadership. As for Yoon-seo, she declined every executive position offered to her. Instead, she established an independent forensic consulting firm dedicated to exposing corporate corruption across Asia. She had lost 5 years of her life. But she refused to lose the rest of it to revenge. Some betrayals destroy people. Others reveal who they were always meant to become. Han Yoon-seo didn't return to reclaim her past. She returned to reclaim the truth. And in doing so, she found a future no one could ever steal again.